This is a mummy who has lived for 5,000 years. She is imprisoned deep within a dungeon. Her face is covered in ancient scriptures. Her yellow eyes gleam with something eerie, twisted, yet seductive. Her limbs are tightly bound by iron chains. People injected her body with large amounts of poisonous mercury. Only this could suppress her terrifying powers. If she ever breaks free, the world will descend into hell. And what you've just seen was only her basic attack. She is the cursed Egyptian princess Amanet. 5,000 years ago, she was a royal princess of Egypt, and the sole heir to the Egyptian kingdom. But fate took a cruel turn when her father later had a son. That meant the throne would no longer belong to her. Ambitious and burning with resentment, Amanet was consumed by hatred. Her thirst for power drove her to summon the god of death Set. She took the ceremonial dagger and unleashed the source of darkness. The curse spread across her body, seeping into her very soul. From that moment on, she became immortal and was granted unimaginable power. She first murdered her father, then she slaughtered her infant brother to fully resurrect the god of death. She needed to kill the man chosen by Set himself, but just as she raised the blade to strike, the pharaoh's priests arrived just in time to stop her. They punished her with a fate worse than death. Amanet was mummified by the cruelest means imaginable and buried deep beneath the earth, sealed in a tomb miles underground. For 5,000 years, she remained trapped in darkness, until one day during a war, a stray missile accidentally blasted open the entrance to her tomb. Inside stood towering Egyptian statues, a silent warning that an ancient catastrophe was about to awaken. Nick and archaeologist Jenny ventured into the tomb. The sight before them left everyone speechless. 6 Egyptian god statues stood in a circle around a pool of mercury, as if guarding something unspeakable. Nick pulled out his pistol and shot the chains. With the turning of ancient gears, an ancient sarcophagus slowly rose from beneath the water. At the same time, a swarm of spiders erupted from within the tomb. They launched a frenzied attack on the trio. After being bitten, Vale grabbed his machine gun and started firing wildly. Nick, meanwhile, stood frozen, staring at the statue. He was lost in an illusion. In the glow of the setting sun, a beautiful woman walked slowly toward him. At the crucial moment, Jenny snapped him out of it. They quickly used a helicopter to extract the sarcophagus from the tomb. The plan was to bring it back to the base for further research, but just as the skies had been clear and calm, a sudden sandstorm struck without warning. During the transport, Vale, already bitten by the spider, began to mutate. No matter how loudly the others called out to him, it was no use. Vale raised a knife and began walking toward them. In a moment of desperation, Nick had no choice but to open fire on him. There was no time to understand what was happening. Suddenly, the helicopter started to malfunction. A massive flock of crows descended from the sky. They launched suicide attacks on the aircraft. The plane lost control and went into a steep dive. In the face of certain death, Nick handed the parachute to Jenny. He chose to go down with the plane. Several hours after the crash, 2 agents arrived at the wreckage to investigate. There, they discovered a mummy, its body completely wrapped in ancient bandages. As they stepped closer to inspect it, in the next second, the 2 agents were instantly drained into husks turned into dry corpses. Elsewhere, in the stillness of the morgue, a body suddenly sat upright. The man fought to tear his way out of the body bag. It turned out Nick had survived the crash. As he turned around, he found Vale standing right behind him. After being bitten by the spider, Vale had come under a powerful curse. It was he who had saved Nick. He warned Nick that he had been chosen by death itself. Before Nick could even process what that meant, Jenny arrived to claim the body. She told Nick about the legend of the Egyptian princess Amanet and the rumors surrounding the ancient dagger. Back in the days of the Crusades, soldiers discovered the dagger. They removed the powerful red gemstone embedded in the hilt. Then they hid the dagger and the gem in 2 secret locations, far apart. Later, Nick went to the restroom, and once again, he encountered Vale. Vale warned him the curse was real, and there was no escape, but Nick refused to believe it. After Nick left, he was swiftly met with punishment. Countless rats surged toward him, surrounding and devouring him, but it turned out to be a false alarm. It was all just a hallucination, following the images flashing through his mind. Nick brought Jenny to a crumbling, abandoned castle. In the darkness, the two quickly got separated. Now alone, Nick was soon captured by the undead summoned by Amanet. They dragged Nick onto the altar. Amanet leapt onto him without hesitation. After sizing him up for a moment, she smashed a nearby statue with a single punch. She then pulled up the dagger of Set and began chanting an ancient spell. Just as she was about to stab the dagger into Nick's chest, she realized the red gemstone embedded in the dagger was missing. Without the gem, the dagger could not resurrect the god of death, Set. Just then, Jenny burst into the room. An enraged Amanet grabbed her instantly. Nick took the opportunity to break free from a few of the undead holding him. He seized the dagger and struck Amanet with it. The two managed to escape the castle, but on the way out, they were ambushed by more approaching undead. The attack sent their car tumbling down a steep hillside, taking them with it. But someone chosen by Amanet was never meant to escape so easily. Nick picked up an iron rod and charged at her, but in the next second, Amanet sent him flying with a single punch. Just as Amanet was about to kill Jenny, their teammates arrived just in time. A steel hook was launched, tightly restraining Amanet. She was then captured and taken back to the base. At the base, the leader revealed the truth to Nick. He had been chosen to become the vessel for the god of death. If Amanet managed to plunge the ruby-embedded dagger into his body, the god Set would be resurrected by entering him. Once Amanet succeeded in reviving Set, the entire world would be plunged into chaos and destruction. As this was explained, Amanet gave a chilling smile. She was secretly orchestrating a grand and sinister plan. Meanwhile, the research team uncovered another ancient tomb. Inside one of the sarcophagi, they discovered the missing red gemstone from the dagger. Sensing that the ruby had returned to the world, Amanet let out a wicked, triumphant grin. She summoned a venomous spider. It crawled into a scientist's ear. Moments later, his eyes rolled back, and he lost all control. He grabbed a massive axe and smashed the lab's power system. This unleashed the 1,000-year-old mummy. Suddenly, she spewed out large amounts of mercury, letting out a terrifying roar. She broke free from her chains. Her body twisted and crawled up the walls like a spider. A security guard opened fire on her, but she lunged forward and tackled him to the ground, draining the life from his body. Her full power had returned. The evil force that had been suppressed for millennia exploded back to life. All the glass around them shattered from the shockwave. She was like a beast breaking out of its cage. She slowly spread her arms, and in an instant, a violent sandstorm engulfed the entire city. She was determined to rebuild her ancient Egyptian empire in this new era. People could only run in panic. Amid the chaos, Nick was struck by a falling car. Suddenly, Vale appeared. He told them that to stop all of this, the ruby had to be destroyed. He then led Nick to the tomb where the ruby was stored. But what they didn't know was, Amanet had already arrived. She awakened the long-slumbering corpses. Without effort, they slaughtered all the guards. As the tomb doors opened, the undead dropped to their knees, bowing in worship. Amanet picked up the ruby and embedded it back into the dagger. Now, all she needed was Nick to summon the god of death. Nick and Jenny were attacked by zombies on their way. They fell into the water. Just as they surfaced, Amanet appeared behind Jenny. She dragged Jenny underwater and drowned her alive. Amanet told Nick that only by submitting to her could he become the god of death, controlling life and death. But desperate Nick looked at Jenny's lifeless body and refused to bow to the princess. Amanet tried to force Nick with violence, but instead, Nick managed to steal the dagger. He was about to smash the ruby to the ground, but Amanet stopped him. She warned Nick that destroying the ruby would mean losing everything, including his beloved. He glanced back at Jenny, then plunged the dagger into his own chest. Completing the ritual of the god of death's possession, he was destined to become a demon, but with a righteous spirit. He conquered the evil within. Nick waved his hand and violently threw Amanet away. At this moment, he already possessed the power of the god of death. Finally, he pinned Amanet down on the altar, sucking the life force out of her. Amanet struggled wildly, but she was no match for Nick anymore. Her legs slowly withered. Her body curled up, completely dried out. Nick completely drained her into a desiccated corpse. Then, using his death god powers, he revived Jenny, but knowing he was no longer human, Nick chose to leave alone. In the end, he also used his divine power to resurrect his good friend Vale. Together, they set out on a journey to find a way to break the curse, hoping Nick could become human again. May their wish come true.